special one program. Of course, today's program, we have somebody special that we're going to interview, somebody who is not new in the Gambia, who is a household name in the Gambia. He's no other person other than Mr. Muhammad Jagana, who is the president of the GCCI board. Today we are at his office. Mr. Jagana, welcome to the special one show.
First of all, I want to welcome Star TV to Kirjula, home of the entrepreneurs, and I thank you for coming to talk to us, and looking forward to an interesting interview with Star TV.
Okay. Well, people have been hearing Mr. Jagana, quite a long time. Who is Mr. Jagana, and how do you get where you are right now?
I'm a Gambian by birth, and I hail from Banjul. My background, I went to St. St. Marina School, and I studied as a chartered accountant, then decided to come back home and join the family business to be part of the development of the Gambia. So I joined the Gambia Chamber of Commerce as a treasurer some almost 16 years ago, and later became chair of the Trade Fair Committee, and eventually I was elected president about 6 years ago. So I've been serving as president for 5 years, 10 months.
Okay, but you have your own business that you run it?
Yes, I'm involved in several businesses. My core business right now is Financial Services, okay. But with partners we have invested in various businesses ranging from technology to property development. Some of them have been successful, some of them have not been very successful. One of our most successful businesses was Pristine Consulting, which was given the task to produce the first biometric ID card in West Africa. It was started by a partner of mine, Abdurrahman Toure, who unfortunately passed away this year.
Okay, but the road was not smooth, to get to this stage.
Well, generally, as an entrepreneur, you have to take it day by day, step by step, but you do not expect to have a smooth sail. You have to expect the unexpected. And if you are able to focus, develop your strategy, then with the help of God and luck, you'll be among the successful people. But you have to focus and make sure that your mindset is focused on developing your business one step at a time.
Okay, and what are the 2 or 3 lessons that you learn along the way that you can share, with our viewers, those who want to become, entrepreneurs, those who want to become like you?
Well, the core basics of life, if you take it and place it in entrepreneurship, you will be successful. And those are to have ethics, to be hardworking, and to believe in yourself. Because if you don't have those 3, you cannot be a successful father, you cannot be a successful leader, you cannot be a successful entrepreneur, or even a successful newscaster, for that matter.
Yeah. Okay, so what advice do you have for the young version of you, people who want to come into the business, or people who are already into it, but they're still now struggling? What advice?
Well, I still consider myself young. I might have lost some hair over time. Yeah. But on a serious note, my advice to young entrepreneurs is you need to sit and decide, what do you want to do? Just don't look at Demba or Pate or Fatu or Mariam doing something, you jump into it. It's always good to do research. It's always good to have ethics in terms of work, in terms of your relationship with your employees, your relationship with your partners. It's always good to be focused, and it's always good to be determined to work hard. Because at the end of the day, nothing is easy. It's the determination that you put in and the effort that will yield you results over the time.
Okay, and in your career as an entrepreneur, looking at the days of the former regime and this regime right now, what are the differences?
Well, there are 2 fundamental regimes. President Jammeh came in as a military government and eventually transitioned into a civil government. President Barrow was elected as a civil government. But then I think in terms of the business environment, both of them have serious challenges that needs to be addressed. And from my perspective, The ease of doing business is a challenge. Strengthening local content, that's making sure that indigenous Gambians are involved in the key sectors of all our economies, is still a challenge, both under the presidency of Barrow and presidency of Jammeh. And I think also talking about youth and women entrepreneurs under both governments has been, to me, more of a lip service. We have not seen what government has done in terms of their policies to deliver a little bit of an advantage for those young startups. Today, if you start a business today, you'll be asked to pay taxes immediately before you even make profit. The bureaucracy to register businesses, although we have a single window business registration system, but still, it requires a little bit of bureaucracy. Why can't we digitalize it? Why can't you sit at home, upload all the paperwork, let the government verify it, register your business, and you go on and move on? So those are the challenges that I think are faced. On a global level and a bigger level, I think infrastructure has been a major challenge. The electricity, as we have seen recently, it stabilized a little bit, but haphazardly it goes off, and it's expensive. Water in certain areas is a challenge, and to do business, you have to be able to, if you're in a water or some business that requires water, it's a challenge.
Okay, you've mentioned so many challenges.
Yeah.
But what has GCCI done to engage government to see to it that at least some of these challenges are mitigated? I help.
Well, GCCI, we are a membership-based association.
Okay.
We talk to our members, they tell us their concerns, and we go to government and say, hey, these are the policies that we want you to adopt so that we can create a more enabling environment for our members. For example, I'll give you examples on both sides of the presidencies. During Yahya Jammeh's time, when they put in 2 settles every two Saturdays, we wrote to President Jammeh and said, look, we want to sit with you and discuss how do we make the country cleaner by achieving what you want, and at the same time making sure that economic activity of the country is not disrupted. Unfortunately, his reply was not that much presidential or gentlemanly. So I cannot.
What was his reply?
I cannot repeat it on TV, but I can summarize that he basically told us off that our advice or ideas were not warranted or needed. So we can just go and, whatever. Under President Barrow, we still have the same challenges. So what we do at the Chamber of Commerce is to advocate policy reforms. Thank God, finally now, the current government has just inaugurated the National Business Council, which is a high-level economic council made out of 5 ministers and 8 key business operators, including women and youth businessmen and ladies in the council. And there, we plan to target and look at the key issues that businesses face, whether it's small, medium-sized businesses or big corporations, and solve it at presidential and cabinet level. This thing was started since 2002. The last major discussion was in 2011 under President Jammeh, but it never went beyond that part. So we're glad that this current government has listened, but there's still more to be done.
Okay. Well, you've mentioned what has GCCI tried to achieve, with the government. But if you speak to, some local people, they tell you that they don't know GCCI. You should go to this Serekunda market, go to Bantabas, these local people, who are into business, especially women. A lot of them tells you they don't know GCCI. So what is GCCI doing to see to it that the local man at the Serekunda market, is included?
You have a very valid point, and I agree with you.
Yep.
I am the president of GCCI, and I'll say it in camera, and I say it behind doors. Yep. The Gambia Chamber of Commerce is supposed to represent Gambia Chamber of Commerce, not Greater Banjul Chamber of Commerce. Yep. And honestly, we are not doing a great job in selling the narratives. We have done in the past functions to focus on smaller, medium-sized local businesses, but I think we need to do more. For example, we used to organize the Kirjula forums. It's like a trade fair, but mostly for local indigenous businesses. We've organized it in Serekunda, in Banjul, in Farafenye, and we hope to organize it in URR and CRR and get more exposure of the Chamber of Commerce. But I think at that level, we need to do more to explain to people, whether you're in the market, whether you own a big business, you're running your business from your house. GCCI is an open membership, and everybody should come and join so that we can have a stronger position to lobby for the greater interest of our economy. But the perception we have, and I do even get that from people, when I come across them, I say, you're not a member of Chamber of Commerce. They say, oh, it's for big business. I said, no. The Chamber of Commerce is for any entrepreneur that is based in the Gambia. Our doors are open and people should come and be members. And once you become a member, you can demand certain things and we're obliged to do our best to fulfill those demands.
Okay. If one becomes a member, what are the opportunities that they get by being members of GCCI?
Well, our membership is so diverse. I'll touch on some of those things. But what I tell members is, as a member, you have a right to tell GCCI, this is my challenge in my sector or in my business. And GCCI would make sure that we link up with the right, whether it's government or whether it's a private sector operator, to make sure that that is solved. But however, generally, we're a membership-based association. We advocate for advancement and betterment of our members, although sometimes the general business community would benefit. For example, we have pushed the past government, this current government, to look at tax reforms, to lower income tax and corporate tax, which I must say they have done. But not only our members benefit, but the whole economy would benefit from that. We advocate for policies to make sure that indigenous Gambians are involved in local content. Just about 2 weeks ago, we had a town hall forum to talk about local content, OIC, and the Constitutional Review Committee, to just tell our members what can they benefit or how can they engage in those programs as indigenous Gambian businesses and businesses based in the Gambia.
Okay. Well, you've just mentioned tax. My mind went to, government trying to increase 50%, of salaries. Okay. And I think if they are going to increase that 50%, they either have to increase, tax on good, in order to be able to, increase the salaries that they are saying that they want to increase. Is that not going to affect the market price? Because at the end of the day, I know if taxes are increased, what will happen is the market price will also have to, go up.
Well, I think first of all, we should appreciate what the civil service has done for this country. We have had one of the best civil service systems in this country, and we've exported civil servants to the higher level. And it's my view that the civil servants need to be paid properly, compensated to a point that they would not have to worry about how do I make ends meet for my family. However, I think the civil service is extremely overloaded with excess capacity. So I think government needs to focus on how do we reform the civil service. Fine, some of the process would be very painful, but we can look at sectors and say, okay, this particular team is not needed anymore. How do we help them, train them, retool them so that they can go and engage in other skill sets that would give them income? But coming to your question of the 50% tax increase, everybody welcomes it, but I'm not sure how government is going to pay for it. Because as you said, government is supposed to collect taxes, and part of those taxes, they're supposed to provide certain services, including road, hospital, electricity, and other social services, and including paying the civil servants. I'm not sure whether a 50% increase would do it, but I think they need to look at the layer of the civil service. How do we cut the numbers, increase the efficiency of the civil service, go more digital, provide more government services online, and at the same time make sure that the people that are there are well compensated, just like a private sector operator. We need to bring in efficiency into the civil service. But how government is going to pay for it, I'm not sure. I hope it's not going to be extra taxes, because you and I would pay for it.
Because at the end of the day, it's going to be like, okay, you increase my salary, and then if I want to buy something that was costing $10, now it's costing $25. Now with the salary that I have, at least, I'm extra paying, for something that I have to earn for. So at the end of the day, it will not even reflect on my salary.
Well, I think generally what the government needs to do is look at the disposable income of this country. Disposable income means what you take home after all deductions. And how do we improve or increase the disposable income so that price elasticity or the price to purchasing power of people would be enough to be able to meet a basic, their basic needs. But increasing the salaries by 50%, well, I'm not sure. I'm not the Minister of Finance, but I hope they have done their homework and they'll be able to come up with a solution that will not be a huge tax burden across the board.
Okay. Is the country progressing under Adama Barrow in business-wise? Are we progressing?
Well, to be very honest, it's been very challenging from Yahya Jammeh to Adama Barrow. What we have seen under President Barrow is the freedom of people being able to talk and express their position. But economically, we have not seen that much robust economic activity.
Okay, you're saying there's no changes.
Well, there's some changes, but not robust to a point that everybody feels it.
Okay.
Have you seen much difference in your pocket since President Barrow came in? So that's what I'm saying. I mean, however, the policies that needs to be adopted to reform the economy needs to be done quickly so that the benefit of his presidency can be felt across the board.
Okay. So what are the areas that government need to capitalize if they need to develop this economy of the country?
Well, it's so vast, but let's focus on the small, medium-sized businesses. In most countries, small, medium-sized businesses are the key drivers of the economy. So I think what we need to focus on, how do we encourage more people to be entrepreneurs? How do you get more skill-based Gambians, indigenous Gambians, in active economic participation? How do we get more local content? I know when we talk about local content, people tend to talk about oil and gas. But there's a lot of industries that we can develop our own skill base, get more indigenous Gambians to participate in it, so that they can create opportunities to employ people and create economic activities across the country, so that all these backway issues that we face, rural-urban migration that we face, lack of young people in the farming sector anymore, can be solved.
Okay. Okay. Now, coming to the bigger picture, we've seen China. China have entered Africa. Trying to see how they will contribute to the economic development of African countries. We also seen another country that has recently wanted to also enter in the market. That is Japan. So, how do you see these two countries? How do you see their playing ground? When it comes to the economic development of Africa, especially in the Gambia.
Well, it's more than that.
Yeah.
You have China announcing $60 billion.
Okay.
The US have just announced a $60 billion fund. Yeah. Germany has announced their fund. Japan has announced their fund. My question to Africa is, these people are setting their agenda. What is the agenda for Africa? What do we want for Africa? We cannot just continue to take what is being given. We have to sit back and say, hey, what do we want for our continent and our country? We design the roadmap, develop the policies, then it'll be easier to absorb this. At the end of the day, the relationships with these multinationals and international partners is interesting. But then most of these programs are designed for their own economic interests. So we have to sit back and say, what would it take for me to outline my needs and go and sit with my negotiating partner and say, what you have done is wonderful for my country, but this, and this, rather than just going and signing at the bottom line. That is my perspective of it. Because at the end of the day, Japan, China, all of those, they're doing that to strengthen their exports. But at the end of the day, when they give you this kind of facilities, they expect you to buy
because I
stuff from China.
I know they'll be gaining more from us.
Well, it could be a win-win situation depending on how you structure your own component of it.
Okay.
Let's say if they're coming into Gambia, you say, fine, we have a challenge in our electricity industry, but what are you doing for us to make sure that we develop local content so that our electricity, our solar panel, solar system can grow locally rather than relying on importation, our agriculture. how do we take the granules that we produce in Gambia, add value to it, and export it with a higher value, rather than just exporting it as a raw commodity. So these are the things that I think the leadership in Africa, including Gambia, should really sit down and look at and say, hey, what do we need for our continent? What do we need for our country? Then match it with what is being offered.
Okay, but don't you think it's high time now that African countries depend on each other, when it's come to, business, so that they were trying to strengthen their economy?
Well, the way the economic systems are designed are still mirrored on colonial patterns. It is almost impossible today to do effective direct business between Banjul and Lagos, because there's no direct shipping lines between Banjul and Lagos, or Banjul and Accra, or Dakar, Lagos. So most of the international containers or trade is run through international shipping systems that are not focusing on Africa as a continent. Today, there's supposed to be an ECOWAS, free movement of goods and people. But you and I know it takes tremendous effort for small, medium, and women businesses to cross the border into Senegal. People are suffering all across West Africa because of the border post structures. And this is affecting the way we do business and the cost of doing business. So I think these are some of the things that internally we should encourage intertrade and intertrade within Africa to create better economies for all.
Okay. Now, let's talk about the foreign currency. We all know that Gambians have been complaining a lot, especially businessmen have been complaining a lot about this foreign currency. Sometimes, the CFA, have more power than the Gambian dollars. So at the end of the day, it's more expensive. Some businesses closes, because of the inflation of these foreign currencies.
Well, foreign currency is a fundamental challenge, not only for Gambia, but for most countries. And this is related to trade. Today, we are producing certain products, agricultural produce, and exporting them as raw materials. Like we're exporting mango, cashew, granules. But we're importing the finished products. So today, when we export, when we sell at $1,000, for example, and we import at $3,000. So we already have a deficit. Unless and until we start growing and developing our own local produce and reducing the importation of imported goods, the demand for foreign exchange imbalance would not be taken out. And it's going to affect our dollar to dollar, dollar to CFA, dollar to euro. Unfortunately, the only way that can be solved is for government to increase its reserves, and to increase its reserve, also to reduce the importation of commodities or goods that we have to pay in foreign exchange. And to do that, we have to improve our agricultural value addition, improve our production of goods, and export it. Unfortunately, we're not there yet. So that situation is not going to be easily solved.
But don't you think government is also contributing towards it? Because, for example, we have foreign companies, that government does contract with. So at the end of the day, they are paid in dollars instead of dollars.
Well, unfortunately, dollars is not an international trade. Trade in currency. So if you have a contract with a foreign company, if they're providing services or goods, they expect part of the money to go back to them. So you have to pay them in an international accepted currency, like US dollar, euro, and that stuff. I think the other part that government is really contributing to the foreign exchange is the level of travels. Because if you're going to travel overseas, dollars are not accepted there. You have to take foreign currency. But in order to mitigate the foreign exchange position, Gambia needs to be more productive in our agricultural production, manufacturing small goods that we can export to other countries or consume here, expand our tourism, because tourism attracts a lot of foreign exchange, which would help us. Those are the things that we really need to work on. And also, another opportunity is to expand the digital economy. Gambians can be here providing services and goods to foreigners using online or the internet. And they would be paid in foreign exchange. That would help the foreign exchange imbalance. Those are some of the solutions that we really need to look at.
Okay. Okay, what's the relationship between Gambia and Senegal, GCCI, and the commerce industry in Senegal?
Well, the Gambia Chamber of Commerce, we have sister associations in Senegal.
Senegal, okay.
And we have very strong relationship with them. That is from the Dakar Chamber of Commerce, the Kaolack Chamber of Commerce, the Jiganso Chamber of Commerce. In fact, I'm not sure whether you attended the last trade fair. We had a whole section for Senegalese businessmen and women. And the Gambia Chamber of Commerce has been invited to attend the Kaolack Chamber of Commerce trade fair, which normally takes place between January and February. So traditionally, we had had very strong relationship between Gambia and Senegal. I think naturally, the challenge or the rift has always been more of a political one, but not business or personal.
Yeah, because
but the politics affects the business.
You've seen the movement of goods. You know, Gambians do complain a lot. Movement of goods, you know, coming from Senegal to Gambia. So if at all that is very smooth, I think it should also reflect on that also.
I agree. I think the structure we have right now, the Senegalese are protecting their market. We just have to be honest with that. Gambia needs to also develop its own market and see how to protect it. But in the long run, Gambia and Senegal will be better off if we trade together rather than separate, because we're intertwined in terms of borders, in terms of people, religion, and it is also advantage for us, the business people, if we have a stronger and more united Senegambia. But it has to be on a win-win basis. Senegal cannot just look at their advantage and try to kill Gambia, or Gambia look at the advantage and try to kill Senegal. It has to be a win-win basis. That's what I think would solve the economic challenges. The Senegalese-Gambia border has always been a tense place because of economic activities. The Senegalese customs are trying to protect their interests. The Gambia customs are trying to protect their interests. But I think both parties have over the past years sat down and they try to make it smooth. But it's not going to be very smooth, my friend.
Okay. Now, what impact would the bridge cause Gambian business?
I think the impact of the bridge would be an opportunity to unlock huge potentials for the Gambia. For example, today, our port facility is much more easier and accessible to a greater population of the Senegalese. They can easily use our port facility to move their goods into Senegal out of our goods. The people of Gambia and Senegal would be able to move for their own private and business reasons much quicker and much smoother with the bridge. West Africa alone would come much closer through the integration of Gambia and Senegal through the bridge. I think what we need to see is a much stronger economic integration between Gambia and Senegal. Then Gambia will be able to have a bigger access to the ECOWAS market because of the bridge.
Okay. Okay, and on a business note, why Gambian business fails and what needs to be done?
Well, that one is a very
because you open
wide
exactly.
question.
Yeah.
I'm not sure exactly whether I can give a specific answer,
Yeah.
but I think what I normally tell young people is that you need to separate the business from yourself. You might own the business, but the business is an entity, independent. It needs to have its own accounts. It needs to have its own bank account, keep its book, pay its taxes. You as an owner, you need to either have an allowance, a salary, or kind of dividend payment. But don't see that what the business revenues are belongs to you. No, you might own the business 100% or 50% or 30%, but the business revenues are owned by the business. You need to have your own independent allowance or dividend or kind of income from the business. The second thing is you need to be able to determine to work extremely hard. Sometimes you'll start a business, things start getting better, you relax. Hey, there's somebody on your tail trying to chase you or win over a particular market. So I think that is something that the young people really need to take on board. You need to have ethics. You need to have ethics to be in business and have certain values. Fine, Some people will tell you that only the ruthless succeed. Fine. What is success? That's the question now. Is it making the money? Is it living a life and a quality lifestyle that wherever you go, you are respected? But these are the challenges that I think businesses face.
Okay.
But it's not only Gambia, it's all over the world.
Any word of advice to young entrepreneurs and to the government of the Gambia?
Well, you have two very divergent point of views, questions here. But for the young people, I would advise you stay focused, be determined, have ethics, you'll be successful. For the government of the Gambia, you were elected by people. Get closer to the people. Don't forget what the people want, because elections are always going to change governments in Africa. That's it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jagana.
Thank you.
Okay, viewers, that's it right here on Star TV. We're saying thank you to viewing us on Star TV. The program will be coming back. That's going to be another time, another special occasion. This is the special one show with Sarah Kamara. We say bye-bye to all of you.